talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What is happening on your Monday? I hope you're having a great one. Tonight, let me tell you about Star Trek versus Star Wars. Yesterday, I know today is Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Drinko, as they call it here in Dallas, Texas. I know it is Cinco de Mayo, but yesterday was May the 4th. And of course, the internet meme of May the 4th be with you had to. It overtook the internet, as it always does. And that actually is pretty cool. So, I get faced with this every year. And I just think it's time that somebody with a platform, I know other people have done it. It's been done humorously, in jest between major stars of both franchises, whatever. But there really isn't. And I'm going to tell you why. And look, if you like Star Wars and you're a big fan of Star Wars, and even if you hate Star Trek, I'm not mad at you. Like it. You should. It's not terrible. It's not evil. But there are a number of things. And I got to point them out. Because this has gone on too long. And it matters to me. Because I've got that kind of free time. Anyway, please do me a favor. Like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. All the free things that you can do to help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing algorithm. And we also have memberships and super chats. We love it when you take advantage of those because they help us pay the bills around here. If you have any gold-pressed latinum, that would be great. In addition to the fact that, as you can see in our begging bar here, what don't you see? Well, you don't see a phone number anymore. The days of our phone number are over, at least for the time being. Now, I will pin the link to the show. Yes, I will pin the link to the top of the page, and you'll be able to click that and get on. That's the way we're going to do it now. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, that's really awesome. We do have some comments. Jared from the Pod Awful Cult says H2BH. Happy to be here. Happy to have you, Jared. He says Star Trek is for nerds. Star Wars, the original 3 movies. See, I'll get into that too. We're for slightly less nerdy nerds. Change my mind. Well, I won't get into the whole science and philosophy versus fairy tale princes and princesses and Padawans and little, whatever the little things are called with the, anyway, and I'll also respond this way. Jared, 7 of 9. I said we could stop the whole show right now and I'd win. Victor says, I love the original Star Trek. Thank you, Victor. Gilman is here. Says Gullerinos Unite. Thank you. Assemble, too. That's here. Gene1313 is here. She says, hey to all the Gulley fans and Mr. Gulley. Thank you, Gene1313. And she says, hey, Mr. Gulley, I am giving you the point tonight. And I forgot to load something in here. SG Fanboy has been at it again. Gilman says, the line is drawn in the nerd sand. Indeed, it has been. Anyway, I've got to now remove something from my studio that I wanted to have in my studio because they only allow me. I'm paying for this, and they only allow me the 10 things. But let me open this up because SG Fanboy, as I mentioned, has been at it again. He's been at it again. And as you can see, well, as you'll see here in a second, my name on this program is Tom Tiberius Gulley, or I think that's what it is. No, it's Tom Tiberius Kirk. There it is. He took my face and put it on James T. Kirk. Look at that, would you? Is SG Fanboy not the greatest? Is he not the greatest ever? Come on. That is just so fabulous. Thank you, SG Fanboy. You are indeed a living legend. A living legend. Look at that. I want to keep that up for a second. while I start talking about this. Look at that. Oh, man, that made my day. It really did. All right. As I mentioned, SG Fanboy is the best. Terry Nee. Terry Nee here. Good to see you. Look, both of these franchises have very, very devoted, fanatic fans, if you will. And I think that's great. And I think, because I have a sister that she and her husband, man, they dress up as Luke and Leia. They do the whole 9 yards. And I think that's wonderful. I think anything that you're passionate about is wonderful. I would like to point out that all these Comic Cons and cons of all kind, Star Trek is kind of where that started. Now, I know some comic book people will say there were comic book cons like long ago, but those Star Trek conventions were kind of the first pop culture. Hey, the actual people that were on the shows are here. Somewhat of as a function of, Star Trek when it was on, people were crazy about it, but it didn't get super high ratings and therefore was canceled after 3 years. And it started in reruns. And that's when things really took off because people could just watch it every day and binge on it. And that kind of pause between when the show ended and the first movie came out, and I'll give it full credit, as a response to Star Wars. The movie company saw how well Star Wars had done, and they said, we need another Star Trek movie because people want it, and it's time. And we have special effects and things of that nature. That whole thing really geared it up. I remember I went to the first Star Trek movie, and the line was insane. And that's when I learned these guys in front of me. I'm a member of the Star Trek Appreciation Club, and we have a convention, and I didn't know any of this. Any of this. I knew none of it. But what I want to say to you is that Star Trek is better than Star Wars. It just is. And here's the reasons that I'm going to say. All right? The first reason is that when you compare the two franchises, Star Trek is about teamwork. It's about philosophy. It's about not just good versus evil. It's about prejudice. It's about wealth inequity. It's about the effects of technology, the bad ones. There's actually an episode of Star Trek, the original series, where they, much in the spirit of AI that we're currently going through, they allow one of the starships to be captained by a sentience, like a computer model of how things will happen, and bad things happen. And of course, Captain Kirk saves the day. But it's about a lot of larger topics. And it's also about science. I've already done an episode about the number of inventions, actual inventions that have been directly attributed to things inventors and scientists saw on Star Trek. Things they saw on a fictional, allegedly, TV show that they turned into actual inventions. You can go back and watch that episode, but I can tell you that Uhura's little Bluetooth in her ear there, yeah, Star Trek. The iPad that they would just hand a computer display to some, Star Trek. I could go down the list. The flip phone is actually like a communicator on, what's the show again? Oh, yeah, Star Trek. There you go. And, you know, Star Wars is fantasy. It's not bad that it's fantasy. It's just fantasy. It's princes and princesses and magic and, you know what I mean? It's a fairy tale. Nothing wrong with the fairy tale. It really is. There's nothing wrong with that. And the original Star Wars, and I'll get into the whole mess of what's going on with that film franchise. The original Star Wars movie, a pleasant enough film, you know, a darn good movie. But for crying out, like, come on. Let me just take you through a real quick comparison, and then I'll get to some of your comments. This is going to take a while tonight, folks. I also have to, let me just this. Okay, when we get into the comparison, right? Really get into the comparison. Let me just do something with you here real quick. Do you know who these people are? Because it's been 60 years. Do you know who every single one of those people are? I'm going to guess that most of you do. You got Scotty, you got Spock. You know, Scotty, come on. I can't do it, Captain. She won't hold out much longer. You know, beam me up, Scotty. There's Spock. There's Captain Kirk. There's Bones. He's dead, Jim. Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. You know, there's Uhura. Incidentally, what was the first primetime television show in the history of television to show an interracial kiss? That would have been Star Trek. Yeah. And then, of course, there's Chekhov. You know who those folks are? I figured you did. Now, I know what you're going to say. Do you know who these folks are from the first episode? I think you do. And you can throw more than just these three in there. You can throw in Chewbacca. You can throw in C-3PO. You can throw in R2-D2. Sure, we all know who they are. Yeah. And we know everybody from this movie. Sure we do, the original movie. But it was pretty much the same characters that were in this movie. There wasn't anybody really new. Lando Calrissian. Okay, that's it. And the third one of that particular trilogy, which incidentally, in the 9 movies they made, that's not the first 3, that's the middle 3 that came out before the... gives me a headache. But who is in the other ones? I'll wait. Anybody we remember? I don't think so, man. I just don't think so. Now, let me show you these people. Who knows? You don't have to know who all of them are. And I'll go ahead and I'll throw a breadcrumb to the Star Wars crowd. Upper left, that's our Jar Jar Binks, Wesley Crusher. Objectively the worst character in the history of all the Star Trek. Wesley Crusher, just sorry. It's just no. In the front row on the left, we have Riker, or number 1, without the beard, by the way. Normally he's got the beard. We have Counselor Deanna Troi there. And if you don't know who Counselor Troi is, you're missing out, but I get it. But Jean-Luc Picard, are you crazy? Everybody knows Captain Picard. And by the way, they just did another 30-episode series with the guy. He's 107. You got Dr. Beverly Crusher, responsible for upper left Wesley Crusher. The next person is Tasha Yar. No dishonor if you don't know who she is. She was killed, I believe, in the 2nd season. Maybe the 1st. Famous also for, well, I'll get to that in a second. Well, if you see Data, everybody knows Data, right? There, second from the right, you know. Tasha Yar had sex with him, by the way, I think. And then in the middle there is Worf. We all know Worf. Come on, everybody's favorite Klingon. And then over to the right, Geordie LaForge. You at least know some of them, right? Some of them, Star Wars is just the first thing. That's all you know. Okay, how about these people? Sorry for the small photo. I mean, truthfully, you do have Worf again, because he's so awesome. But front row, Jadzia Dax. Boy, I love me some Jadzia Dax. You know what I'm saying? You got Chief O'Brien there. You got Quark, the scheming owner of the bar on Deep Space Nine. You got Benjamin Sisko, the captain, his kid, who, not great, but light years beyond Wesley Crusher. You got Worf again in the back. And then the Indian doctor, and then you got Odo, the shapeshifter, and you got his squeeze there, Keira Nerys. So those people, kind of, right? I mean, you got to know at least one of those people. Then, what about Voyager? And there's a damn good argument to be made for the fact that Voyager is right up there with the original series and the rest of them. So some people, there's a damn good argument that it's the best of the Star Trek TV shows for a lot of reasons. But you got Captain Janeway. I won't go through all of them. You have the Doctor there to the upper right. A lot of people like him. But really, this whole argument can be put to bed with 3 words. Why Star Trek is better. And they say it's a show for nerds, blah, blah, blah. Come on. 7 of 9. Do we have to go any further than 7 of 9 for crying out loud? Do we? 7 of 9 alone. Does Star Wars have anything like that? Anything like 7 of 9? Part Borg, part human. 100% smoking hot galaxy girl. Do we? Does it have to go any further than that? Ever? Now, I am going to throw another little olive branch to the Star Wars crowd here. All right. As soon as StreamYard allows me to. And then I'm going to get to some more of your comments. Because I think this is going to spark a lot of, There are a couple of things that Star Wars has going for it. And I'm talking about the only thing that anybody remembers, which is the original 3 movies. I know fanatics of the whole thing remember it all. I've watched those movies. You guys know how fanatic I am about TV shows and movies. I can't tell the other 6 movies one from another. I can't. Is this the first 3? Or is it the last? What's going on? I don't know. It's disjointed. It's basically there to sell toys. But I will give you this. The lightsabers, pretty cool. Especially special effects wise at the time. Lightsaber, pretty cool. Darth Vader, an amazing character. The Luke, I am your father. Great. Really great. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda. Yoda? Really? Yoda. Miss Piggy in frog shape or whatever. Now here's one thing. As long as we're going to talk about it, cool as I think that the lightsaber is, and I do think it's pretty freaking cool. A lightsaber up against a phaser, that's a pretty quick battle. Or even a Klingon disruptor, that is a pretty quick battle, is all I have to say about that. But I am going to throw you a bone, and I am going to leave that Star Wars photo up there for a little while, just so you feel like I'm not totally biased. And there you go. Let's see. SG Fanboy is the best. That's the truth, and he does rock. Michael Gardner says Star Wars is kind of dumb. It is. Luke from General Hospital. No Terry Nee. Luke from Luke Skywalker. not Tony Garrity or whatever his name is. Metal Maiden Vicky is here from Metal Maiden Vicky's Metal Euphoria. You can hear that 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern every Saturday on SonicAsylumRadio.com. I was there in the chat room, not for as long as I should have been, but for a little while, and we had a blast. It was a great show. That is a great one. Good job once again, SG Fanboy. Well, since people are calling for it, there you go. Michael Gardner, being the gentleman that he is, says, I don't want to yuck anybody else's yum, but Star Wars is a gigantic cash grab that refuses to die. Also, Star Trek episodes are like little Shakespearean morality plays with well-developed characters. Some of their shows are directly taken from Shakespeare, and they really do attack all through the whole thing, Next Gen and all through them. They do attack very deep issues of human existence. You guys remember the Star Trek, the original series episode where the two guys come onto the ship and half of their face is black and half of their face is white, and they start fighting each other, and they're like, why are you fighting each other? You're from the same planet. And they point out, well, the right side of his face is black and the right side of my face is white. And it's like, okay, I guess they're getting a prejudice there. Coach Mike Rodick has arrived. He says hello to all my friends in chat. Oh, hey, Tom. Also, The Orville is an excellent spiritual sequel. The Orville is actually quite hilarious. The Wolf says, I like James T. Gulley. She blinded me with science. Hello, folks. The Borg alone makes the next generation better. Yes, resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. The Borg, there were so many enemies, the Klingons, the Cardassians, the Dominion, but the Borg, this faceless, nameless, relentless enemy, Let's see here. Michael Garner says they had Furbies 50 years before they were invented. Yes, Tribbles. And let's not forget the Gorn. People saying hi. Fairy tale. Right. That's right. Let's see. I'm training chest right now, so it's a listen. That's okay, Wolf. Please do those pecs. Now, I will say that Gilman is right. And this gets at the heart of something else I'm going to say. And this is another olive branch to the Star Wars folks. Mandalorian is great. The first 2 seasons, I think it got a little after that, but the first 2 seasons are really awesome of Mandalorian. And this is the exception that proves the rule, because I don't necessarily believe this, but you could make the argument, and I think it's a very good argument, that Star Trek is better television shows and Star Wars are better movies. You can't deny the success of the Star Wars film franchise, and you can't deny those first 3 movies as a trilogy. They do connect together. They do have compelling characters. But they've been leaning on those characters ever since. I mean, Carrie Fisher from her grave was Princess Leia. Anyway, Coach Mike says, we get it, Tom. You're a nerd. Just kidding, just kidding. Well, good, Coach, because a nerd that played college sports, yeah, I know. It's a burn. Michael Gardner says, yeah, I also know who Tinky Winky is. I don't even know who that is. That doesn't make Teletubbies the Sopranos. Well, no, it doesn't. But you're the guy that knows who Tinky Winky is. I didn't even know that. I don't think if we showed Tinky Winky to a group of 100 adults, they would know, Samuel Jackson. What about him? You can't just throw out Samuel Jackson. That guy's been in everything. The chef is in the house. Hey, all right. Good to see the chef. Michael Garner says, end of the first season, Tasha Yar was killed. Yes, it was Skin of Evil or whatever the episode. I remember the name of it now. She drowned in black tar or something. Anyway, by the Black Goose Pit. Everybody knows that. Duh. Well, I just didn't remember if it was end of the first or beginning of the season. Second. Never had a favorite Klingon. That's why I bought a bidet. The old joke. My last girlfriend tried to Klingon way too long. Michael Gardner says, Yoda they made up at the last minute. Yeah, you got that right. Will someone defend Star Wars, please, so we can have a real nerd battle here? Well, Jared was in here earlier, but the Pod Awful thing has got him occupied right now. James Earl Jones. Hello, Warhawk. I don't know what that means, but let's see. My brother's in-laws are Mandalorian. Name the Star Wars movies. The Trek movies, are frickin' awesome. First Contact, I mean, come on, it's still incredible. Well, it is. It is. But I would also say there's some issues with Star Trek, and I'm going to tell you what those issues are. And one of the problems, well, let me just go through them. Star Trek, the motion picture, really great special effects, well directed, great movie, but it was really a repeat of an episode of Star Trek. The V'ger episode of Star Trek had already been done. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, so awesome because it took an episode of Star Trek and brought it back into the movies with Ricardo Montalban. The guy who had played the role in the TV show was in the movie. It's just beautiful. Star Trek II, The Search for Spock, which an extension. I mean, that right there. They killed Spock. Killed him. But it's science fiction. They brought him back. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Now, the Final Frontier, the one with the whales, come on, which I think was 5. Was that 5? Hold on, I'll tell you. Was it the one with the whales? Was that 5? Was that the one at the... let's see. No, I don't think it is. But the one with the whales, you know what I mean? It's just the one with the whales is the one that... It's just not... Was that The Voyage Home? I can't, Yeah, it was The Voyage Home. Nimoy directed that too. And, it had some of those like callback moments to the original. Star Trek Generations was great. First Contact was great. Insurrection and Nemesis. But see, those were all just like big, giant bonus episodes of The Next Generation. One of them had Kirk in it, which made it great and stuff like that. But here's the problem with Star Trek movies. J.J. Abrams, who is an avowed Star Wars freak, got his filthy fingers on the Star Trek franchise and changed all the canon, all the things we knew were true about Star Trek. So now Kirk and Spock meet in Starfleet and Academy days and all of that. And they just did whatever they wanted with it. And a couple of the movies are actually pretty good. Not mad at them. But come on, man. Come on. So that's a problem. That's a big problem for me. Anyway, let me see here. We do have some more comments. Once you get into the Next Generation and Beyond movies, I'll defend every one of them. No, you can't defend the redoing the Kobayashi Maru. And why am I frozen? There's no need for me to be frozen. Are we doing this again? Again, we're going to do this. Again, we're going to do this. Let me see if I switch something out here, if it'll do me a favor. Let me do this. All right. Let me see if I'll do the rest of this damn show frozen. And I am froze up. Let's see here. Yeah, that is frozen. It's frozen. I want to thank you, StreamYard. I just watched a Columbo episode with Leonard Nimoy as a bad doctor. Yes. 4 is the whales. Yeah, the voyage home. Yeah, I just said that. Yeah, you're right. But what other TV series did so many movies? Well, I don't know. Probably none. What do I got? What? There's going to be a quiz. Let's see here. Am I unfrozen? Let's find out, shall we? Am I unfrozen? Yeah, Wesley Crusher got on it. I get so sick of the Next Gen episodes where Wesley Crusher finds some sort of reference in an old Starfleet manual because the computer never could, and saves the day. It makes me want to vomit. By the way, like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all those free things that help us out with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful algorithm. And then we do have memberships and we do have super chats. They help us pay the bills around here, and that is important in these tough times that we're all living in. And then also, turn on your gifted memberships. It tells how right at the bottom of the screen, and I'll be opening up. I'll be posting the link at the end of our little presentation today. So, the differences in Star Trek and Star Wars are obvious. One debuted on television, one debuted on the movies. The main focus of Star Trek was space exploration and a society consisting of multiple planets and species, but mostly humans striving for a utopian existence, the perfect existence of combining work with a lack of strife, with infinite talents and infinite diversity and infinite combinations, where everyone gets along, where, all that stuff. Now, Star Wars, of course, debuts on film, and it's a space opera, okay? And it's all about the individual, all about me, 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 me. And I have to, the force is inside me, and Yeah. I'm not going to talk anymore about the J.J. Abrams era. It's just not worth it. William Shatner. Here's what William Shatner has to say. He has to say, Star Trek had relationships and conflict among the relationships and stories that involved humanity and philosophical questions. And that Star Wars was only better than Star Trek in terms of special effects, and that once J.J. Abrams became involved, Star Trek was able to supersede Star Wars on every level, every single level. There are some who have argued that Star Trek reflects common human issues, the morals of exploration, ethical questions. Star Wars is a classic medieval tale dressed up as action adventure, and it's all about inner strength. You know, that is basically it. If it boils down to it, that's basically it. Now, Shatner also believes that these two series are symbiotic, that they kind of, like, Star Wars took advantage of all the stuff that Star Trek had laid the foundation for, but that Star Trek was reborn by the success of Star Wars. I think that's very true. I'm kind of like Michael Gardner. We need some people lobbying for the Star Wars stuff. Michael Gardner says, yeah, I hated the J.J. Abrams stuff. How could you cast Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan? I have no idea. No idea whatsoever. Metal Main Vicky says, my late husband Joe was a huge Star Wars fan. He was one of those kids that was at the theater at midnight for the movie premieres. He had all the original action figures. And when he moved out of his mom's place to live with his dad briefly, his mom threw out all those action figures. Yes, thousands of dollars of original action figures. She was freaking. She had no idea. She figured he had outgrown them or something. No, they don't outgrow those. So needless to say, when the Star Wars movies came back to the theaters, you'd better believe that Joe bought all the new action figures and stuff, which I still have. Well, it was easy for him to do because I think the figure was one of the films, and I think it was the one that came out fourth when they decided they were going to rebirth it, and I think that was a prequel. I don't know. You can't pay me to keep track of that. 3,000 licensed products. And I would say that also is the difference between the two. Now, I'm sure Star Trek, at this stage of the game, has a very robust merchandising program. But when the first series came out, there were a few models you could buy and toys, maybe a lunchbox, but it was nothing like, come on. Let's see here. Where's the thing? There's a documentary called Trek Nation, and it examines the positive impact that Star Trek creator and Gene Roddenberry had on people's lives. And it has the cast members and stuff. And both George Lucas and Gene Roddenberry praise each other's respective franchises, with George Lucas stating that Star Trek was an influence while writing the original screenplay for Star Wars. And he explained that while both franchises were so far out, Star Trek produced a fan base that softened up the entertainment arena so that Star Wars could come along and stand on its shoulders. And this was also acknowledged by William Shatner. And he says that Star Wars is derivative of Star Trek. A few references to Star Wars have been inserted into Star Trek films. For fleeting moments, one can see ships and droids from Star Wars in both the 2009 Star Trek, because of J.J. Abrams, the Star Wars fanboy, and Star Trek Into Darkness. Some Star Trek films and television episodes use the Star Wars animation shop, Industrial Light and Magic, for their special effects, but everybody did. So, you know. When Gene Roddenberry was honored at a Star Trek convention very late in his life, a congratulatory letter from Lucas was presented by an actor dressed as Darth Vader. A few years earlier, Roddenberry had contributed an entry in honor of Star Wars and Lucas at a convention honoring the latter. So it's a peaceful hatred. In 2011, by the way, in 2015 at a live concert, William Shatner dressed as an Imperial stormtrooper singing Girl Crush alongside Carrie Underwood and Brad Paisley. In 2011, William Shatner and Carrie Fisher posted a series of humorous YouTube videos satirizing each other's franchises. In a 2016 interview, Shatner commented that Captain Kirk and Princess Leia eloping and running off into the sunset would be the perfect union between Star Trek and Star Wars. Shatner has also posted several humorous tweets on his Twitter account mocking Star Wars. Among them was a post commemorating the 35th anniversary of the poorly received Star Wars holiday special. Yeah, Star Trek has never done anything bad as the Star Wars holiday special, which is just a mess. Both of the franchises are expected to do nothing but continue to grow throughout the next decades. After the Star Trek reboot trilogy, several sequels are set to follow. A new TV series based on the original timeline, Discovery, which is a prequel to the original series, debuted in 2017. As of March 2024, more Star Trek television series were airing than ever before. 900 episodes and 13 feature films totaling 668 hours have been produced over 58 years. So there you go. There you go. I'd like to point something else out here after I get some of your comments. Don't let me forget. Wow, that is a lot of licensed products. Yeah, they all had to have George Lucas's signature too, by the way. He approved every one of them. There you go. Gene1313 said, my boys were Darth Vader for Halloween for years. And, well, Lucas owns all the likeness of all the cast. Oh, yes, he does. He most certainly does. Let me just get rid of, what do I want to get rid of? I'll get rid of, and this hurts. Man, this hurts. Hurts. I had to remove one of my 7 of 9 images. I'll put another one back. That's for the wolf. Let's see. Let me get this image out of here. I want to point something out about Star Trek, because this is really amazing. You got to see this. I don't know if it's available on YouTube. Let me find out real quick. Let's see. Whoa, hold on. There we go. Okay. So this is Star Trek Continues. It's 13 episodes. They're the same length, an hour long-ish, as the original series, Star Trek. The original series. And I want to tell you something. Whenever possible, these guys got the original writers or producers. They got original Star Trek people to appear on this series. And if you've never seen this, go to YouTube, 13 episodes, and you can watch Star Trek Continues. You are going to be blown away by how accurate the scripts are and really well written. One of the episodes brings a character back from the original 1960s show and puts him in the episode as that same character. However, the sets are identical. If you didn't know better, you'd think you were watching the 60s series. And even though they're different actors, I think there's only one new main actor, and they explain that in the series. After you watch about half of the first episode, you kind of forget that you're not watching the original series. All of the actors, they don't imitate the former actors from the 60s. By the way, James Doohan's, I think, son plays Scotty. So he looks a lot like him and he sounds like. But you forget, the guy who's playing Kirk is the guy that really spearheaded the whole thing. They built this massive stage setup and things in Georgia, and I could do a whole episode just about Star Trek Continues. But it's amazing. It just sort of picks up where Star Trek left off, and they end the 5-year mission. It's absolutely spectacular. No, Tom Tiberius Kirk does not appear in it. Let me get another photo from that up here. It's pretty incredible. And I will say this as well. Star Wars also has some pretty amazing fan-based animated. There's the actual crew and the deck of Star Trek Continues. It's done so perfectly. It's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Done really well. But you can watch that right after you're done watching this. Just go to Star Trek Continues on YouTube, and you can watch those suckers for free. You can watch them for free. You don't even have to pay for them. You can watch them for free. Know what I'm saying? All right. You have a few comments here. Let's get to those. Well, actually, just one. I think that's why they say the line wrong, so he will not sue by say the right way. No, I am your father. That might be. That might be. But there's some great fan work also for both of these. And there's additional Star Trek movies that have been made by fans that are amazing. There's Star Wars movies fans that have made some really spectacular stuff. And some of it is now 3D animated and, but if I'm going to boil it down, as great as it... Now, let me point out some of the good things about Star Wars. The influence of the Force... kind of cool throughout the whole thing. Kind of cool. But at a certain point, it does just turn into a magic trick. You know what I mean? The downfall of Star Wars is the merchandising and the absolutely disjointed nature of some of these movies. If you're not a hardcore fan, the movie with all the robot army, well, let me just get to the whole thing. I've got it right here. I don't really have to, Okay, so you've got, in order that they came out, Attack of the Clones, that one. Oh my God. It's just, forget it. Revenge of the Sith. Who are the Sith? If I showed you the posters for these movies, you wouldn't know who any of the characters are. There's a young Obi-Wan Kenobi, but do you know that by looking at him? You just look at these characters, The Force Awakens. Who are any of them? That's one where they brought Han Solo back because they had to. The Last Jedi, whatever. Carrie Fisher's in that one because they had to. The Rise of Skywalker. I've seen some of these movies. And I'm watching them, and they're not bad movies. But while I'm watching them, I completely forget that I'm watching a Star Wars movie. Completely forget it. Totally forget it. Absolutely forget it. You know what? I might as well take my life into my own hands here and do what some thought would never happen. I'm going to put the link up. No, I'm going to do it. I'll put the link up. I'll pin the link in the room chat here. I'm going to pin that sucker up for you. I can get rid of that. Let me see here. Okay, you're going to have to listen to the show for just a brief second while I do this. There we go. Wasn't that long, was it? Oh, God. No, absolutely nobody's watching this show on a Monday night. I thought for sure the Star Wars nerds would come out with hammer and tong and really put it to me. All right, there we go. There. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Michael Gardner says, I'm watching. Well, as long as you're watching, Michael, we're in good stead. I'm going to pin that message. There we are. The link is up. For those of you who'd love to be on the show. I don't know why this is going to work any better than the phone number, but nobody used for 5 years, whatever. But it's there. It's there. Oh, I can get rid of that too, by the way, now. I don't need that no more. Goodbye. Say goodbye to that. I'll leave that up for a few minutes and then. So in closing, Star Trek is just better. It's better because it's more dramatic. The characters are more beloved and enduring. They last for forever. They've established well-based, and it's easier for them because they're TV shows, well-based characters from a certain time period. When you watch Next Generation, you know it's hundreds of years after the original series. When you watch Enterprise, you know it's the very beginning of Starfleet. You don't have to wonder. When I watch these other shows, I'm like, when is this? What's happening? Is this Skywalker's mother or his daughter? And what's that guy doing here? I mean, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Michael Gardner is watching. He's always watching. Uh-oh. Look out, kids. I'm going to add him to the stage here. Well, let's just do this. I think we've got the wolf. Why is that not doing what I'm wanting it to do? Hey, Wolf. Disconnected. Okay, got to add him to the stage again. Okay, Wolf, what's going on, brother?
I've been waiting for the past 15 minutes for my computer to get to the stage where I can get on, but of course, it's not working.
Well, it's working now.
No, I'm on my phone.
Oh, well, you're on.
Well, there it is.
Gene 1313 says, I think Star Wars is made for money and Trek is for fans. Talk about Star Trek Below Decks. Oh, Gardner has a recommendation for me. If you haven't seen it already, up 2 episodes of Black Mirror, Star Trek-ish theme. Okay, I'll check it out. But are you, where do you sit on this whole thing?
Well, I'm surprised you didn't put T'Pol up there.
Well, I was gonna, but I mean, they only let me have 10 pictures. So. Yeah.
As a rackologist, I would have used both of them.
Well, I can put T'Pol on here. I got Metal Maiden Vicky, but it says they will need to connect their mic or cam before you can add them to the stream. Did you hear that? That's probably Tom.
Yes, I did.
I'm going to have to go talk to him again. You know what? I don't think this time I'm going to talk to him. I'm just going to call the cops. Let them deal with it.
Just call the cops on them, Freddie.
Metal Main Vicky, it says devices not connected. They will need to connect their mic or cam before you can add them to the stream. So connect those and we'll bring you on board. Yeah, Below Decks is good. It's animated, but it's good. Yeah, the Lower Decks focuses on, the least important characters on the least important starship. So it's menial jobs and things of that nature. I've heard it's supposed to be kind of humorous and stuff, but it's anyway. Lower Decks, a lot of people like Star Trek Lower Decks. Metal Maiden Vicky says, wait, why was I there? Were you not there? Was someone imitating you? Is that a new way to watch the show? No, it's a new way to be on the show, Metal Maiden Vicky. You see how the Wolf's on the show right now with me? This is how you call in now, since we put a couple photon torpedoes into Skype. That's the way we do it now.
Tomorrow's the day, isn't it? The 5th?
No, it's today. Today's the 5th, Wolf.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah,
Well,
you didn't know it was Cinco de Mayo in your neck of the woods? I would have thought that
of course not.
I would have thought that would have been very obvious where you live. I would have thought you would have heard mariachi bands all day long.
Nope. I heard something yesterday, but nothing today.
Well, maybe they did it a day early. I don't know.
Well, in the days of the Greeks and the Romans,
And the Mexicans.
they just considered it good manners for the Spanish people in the neighborhood to give a burrito.
T'Pol, yeah. I let me find a picture of T'Pol for everybody. Let me find one that you'll appreciate, Wolf.
As I would have said to Big John when I saw somebody that I actually approved of.
Let me find a T'Pol photo that Wolf will.
That was Jerry Ryan's replacement.
Well, kind of, yes. That was the smoking hot space babe replacement.
That's right.
But I got to find an appropriately fetching.
They discovered that if you show them, men will watch.
Yes. Yes. T'Pol. I got to find a good one of her.
A well-known 50s strategy.
Yes. Put the hot babe in the science fiction.
That's right.
show.
Mamie Van Doren or, one of those.
Let me see if this is I can't get it from Memory Alpha. Remember the episode with Memory Alpha? The famous place that no more call-in number. Nope, no more Skype. Skype said bye-bye. So we don't have any more.
Hey, now you can save that cash and spend it on the Tyler Rose's sausages.
Sausages. I got a whole pack of those sausages here. Maybe I'll
Hey, mister, why don't you share one of those sausages?
I could.
Oh, my, I sure would like to have one of those sausages.
Let's see if this is a picture I'll be able to use. That's not. See, the problem with T'Pol is her uniform isn't quite as. It's pretty good, but it's. Wait a minute now.
Oh, boy. Now, wait just a minute, fella. Let's not jump the gun on that.
Let me see if this is going to download, because this would be a good one. Come on, don't. Sometimes it gives me these dumb web files and stuff, and nothing makes me madder. This is going to work. This is T'Pol in the decompression chamber. Michael Gardner says, consider a Google Voice number. I think you can do VoIP. Well, this works just fine. I don't think there's any need for me to be having a phone number nobody uses. I can just have
There you go.
I can have the show link that no one will use. I think that's a much better strategy. Let's see here. Okay, so this is the contamination chamber, and T'Pol is the lady on the far left. There you go, Wolf. There you go.
Well, if we could get rid of those other two, I would say, ooh.
Nothing like a good decontamination chamber shot.
She's got what it takes and so much more.
Oh, I got another Star Trek Continues. Have you seen the Star Trek Continues series?
Yeah, we talked about it. Don't you remember?
No.
You know, you don't remember me talking about another curl, another power from the curl.
Oh, yes. Yes, I do remember that. Let me find another T'Pol picture for you, Wolf. I hate it. They put all these like 3D photos in.
He could have been Shatner's stunt double.
Yes, he could have. Well, and you forget. I don't know about you, but I forgot after a very short period of time that it was even. I mean, he was just Kirk. He did such a really and what I love about it is they didn't try to imitate them. They just replicated them, so to speak.
Yeah, they just found a guy that could have been his stunt double.
Well, I'm talking about all of them, all of the characters.
Yeah, well, you've got Duhan's son, who basically sounds a lot like him and looks a lot like him.
Yeah. But they could have gone over the top with imitating them, and they didn't. They just sort of portrayed the same character. It is so well done.
Yeah, the directing is really well done too. Their speech patterns, their emotions, kind of resemble the original dudes and dudettes.
Gene says, "Mr. Wolf, you dirty dog." I hope the link, I did pin the link in there, didn't I? Hopefully I pinned the link in the YouTube. Should be pinned up at the top.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on YouTube to load.
Oh,
so I can go on the link
never
on my
mind.
computer.
You don't have to, but hopefully it's still there. But anyway, yesterday was May the 4th when all the Star Wars people go crazy. I'm just saying, I don't think there's a ton of people that are waiting right now for another Star Wars movie. Now I know a lot of people.
I must say, her cups runneth over.
Well, there's T'Pol, who is a Vulcan who is placed on the very first USS Enterprise, which is the first starship in Starfleet. And at the time because look, Enterprise gets a lot of downgrading from a lot of Star Trek fans and a lot of science fiction fans. And it's like, that's when the whole thing first started, and they didn't know if the transporters worked, and they didn't have really great phasers. And the Vulcans at the time were very, very cautious about people from Earth. And T'Pol was there kind of as a spy for the Vulcans at first. And so the whole thing's a lot different. But I don't know that there's a lot of people that are dying for another Star Wars movie. A few of them have kind of flopped here, the last few. And then a lot of their TV series have not been very good. The Mandalorian, really good at the start. And I understand there's one or two others that are pretty good. But Star Trek, man, they just haven't hit a sour note. They just keep releasing new good stuff that people love. Why would they keep making them? If people didn't just love them. Let's look at these. There's a few standalone movies, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which I think I saw that one, and it wasn't that bad. It did make $1 billion, Rogue One. Solo, a Star Wars story. Yeah, that one barely earned its budget back. Barely. It was not a success. The Mandalorian is going to have a film coming up. Star Wars Starfighters is scheduled for 2027. Mandalorian movie is next year.
A lot of that is mimicking the animated stuff.
They had a series called Droids come out in the 80s, one season. Ewoks, 2 seasons.
No Ewoks, none of those Gungas.
Yeah.
Oh,
The Clone Wars was a TV series that had 7 seasons, but it was a cartoon. Rebels came out in 2014, 4 seasons. It was animated, 3D animated Disney series. Resistance came out in 2018, also animated.
Yeah.
The Bad Batch was an animated series. These are all animated.
Yeah.
Who cares? Okay, live action
Well,
series. Let's see.
they started turning those animations into the real deal.
Well, The Mandalorian came out and it ended in 2023 after 3 seasons. And I think they were right to do that because the 3rd season, the wheels had come off the wagon. The first 2 seasons were so good.
Yeah, because of the horrible writing.
Yeah, it was. They just they didn't know how to do it. Like, let me get some other.
They started this new apprentice thing, and then they've got one with Ahsoka on her own. That one was okay, but
Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett didn't hardly last at all. 7 episodes and it was done. Obi-Wan Kenobi, which you would have thought would have been incredible, 6 episodes.
it was terrible.
Andor, 2 seasons. It was, And then, as you mentioned, Ahsoka is out, and it's still going after 8 episodes. But that's not necessarily a terrible thing. 1 season, 8 episodes. That's kind of the new way to do shows, is you do 8 to 10 episodes and then do another season. The Acolyte, it was June 4th to July 16th, 2024, and done.
Yeah, that one was not too good.
Skeleton Crew, 1 season, 8 episodes. Lasted about a year. December 2nd, lasted about a month. December 2nd, 2024 to January 2014, 14th, 2025. So a little bit, 6 weeks. Done. Jedi Temple Challenge was a game show, 2020, and it's done. So I don't know what live action. I don't see any live action series that are scheduled for the future here.
Well, I play the Star Wars game that's for cell phones, which is really funny because Drew, one of my childhood school buddies, Drew Terry's son, works on the animation for it. They've started loading characters from those series into that game. So it's like they're, instead of it trying to figure out new characters, they're taking all the ones that they've had in these games and putting them, or in these series, and putting them into the game.
Michael Gardner says it is Grant Imahara from Mythbusters. Yes, on Star Trek Continues. Yes. Rest in power. Star Wars Holiday Special is the worst thing that's ever been done. It is. It's this weird thing. It's the storyline that ties things together. And Star Wars was so huge, they just did it as kind of a cash grab. But Chewbacca and Han Solo are attempting to visit the Wookiees' home planet of Kashyyyk to celebrate Life Day, and they're being pursued by agents of the Galactic Empire. And they introduce 3 members of Chewbacca's family: his father Itchy, his wife Mala, and his son Lumpy. Jesus God. They have, it's she contacts Luke Skywalker, who's working on his X-Wing fighter, and Mala then attempts unsuccessfully to prepare a meal, the instructions of which are being aired via a local cooking show by an eccentric 4-armed alien cook, Chef Gourmanda, Harvey Korman. Sean arrives with Life Day gifts for everyone, including a virtual reality fantasy program featuring Diane Carroll. So they just work in all these guest stars, which were James Earl Jones, B. Arthur, Art Carney, Diane Carroll, and Harvey Korman. Good God, they were old in 77. What were they thinking, for crying out loud? So yeah, really bad. Really, really bad. And they used archival footage from the movies, to make it better. They had music, This Minute Now, sung by Diane Carroll. And Light the Sky on Fire was performed by Jefferson Starship as a 3D music video being watched by an Imperial Guard. B. Arthur sings Good Night But Not Goodbye, set to the Cantina Band theme. Good night but not goodbye. That had to be horrifying. Finally, at the end of the special, Carrie Fisher sings a song in celebration of Life Day to the tune of Star Wars' main title. Oh God. Harvey Korman does a skit with B. Arthur where he's in love with her. Art Carney plays this traitor. He's helping Chewie's family, but his segments are played for laughs. And at one point, he alludes to his character Ed Norton from The Honeymooners. Do I need to point out how much better Star Trek is? Bad as you might hate Star Trek, we've never done anything like this. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. Let me see how it was received. Reception. George Lucas did not have significant involvement with the film's production and was reportedly unhappy with the results. Wow. I believe it will be released on videotape. I'm sure it will never be on television again. In 2006, Harrison Ford made an appearance on Late Night with Conan O'Brien and jokingly did not even acknowledge its existence at first when asked about it, saying he had never heard of it or seen it. Carrie Fisher said she made Lucas give her a copy of the special so she would have something for parties when she wanted everyone to leave. Anthony Daniels, who played C-3PO, said he referred to the special as a turd. Oh, God.
Well,
well,
I guess he would be right.
I guess he hit the nail on the head. Michael Gardner says, I never watched Star Trek Continues. Thanks for the tip. Actually, a really good story behind it, because at the time, was it Universal or Paramount that owned, maybe it was Paramount that owned the rights. They had this bizarre series of rules regarding fan fiction. You had to purchase like licensed stuff from them to use in it if you were using costuming or stuff. It couldn't last longer than 30 minutes. They had all these weird rules. And so Star Trek Continues got in a little bit of hot water, but they came to an agreement because Star Trek Continues was doing this thing that was just, if you see it, you're going to love it. If you love the original series, you're really going to love this. In fact, as a matter of fact, I'm watching those tonight. I'm diving back into those. I've been looking for something to watch. And it's really good. It's so well done. Even the scripts, those well-written original series scripts, even those are, the scripts for them are, well, let me just go to this. The Star Trek Continues here real quick.
I missed my opportunity to use one of the ridiculous lines that people use.
What's that?
If it quacks like a duck and it looks like a duck. You said it was terrible.
Yeah, it was. It stank on ice.
They just don't have any new ideas. You know how that's going. There haven't been too many new ideas for anything. Just rehash, try to reinvent,
Well, this was back in the day. I mean, this was back in, like, right when they were capitalizing so hard on the popularity of Star Wars.
And think about all the horrible spin-offs, and not just spin-offs, but movies that were made to try to use I made a joke in one of the, I was making a comment about Well, it wasn't the Asylum, because the minute you see that name, you know the movie's going to be just horrible. But it was another space show, and I said, let me guess, another excuse to use footage from what's the one with what was it called? Not Galaxy Raiders.
Not Galaxy Quest.
No, the one with the man from Uncle Guy in it.
Oh, Battle Beyond the Stars.
Battle Beyond the Stars.
Yeah.
Like, you'll find like 100 films using footage and the spaceships from that, the
Yeah.
scenes where they're battling.
Yes, well, that's actually Battle Beyond the Stars is actually a pretty good movie, but it's a direct takeoff on The Magnificent Seven, only in space. And that's why they got Robert Vaughn in it. That, I think, was a Roger Corman produced movie. But movies like that and Ice Pirates.
Oh, Lord.
And Ice Pirates, another movie, not a bad movie, but they're all sort of wannabe Star Wars.
Time Bandits, too.
Yeah, a little bit of Time Bandits, yeah. Let me see if I can find Star Trek Continues. So this Star Trek Continues, I should just do a whole episode about it. Heck, who knows? Well, I'm not going to be able to get Vic Mignogna, but you can see him on a lot of interviews and stuff. And they released 11, it says, episodes here from 2013 to 2017. It's an unofficial direct continuation of the original series and totally emulates its visual and storytelling features to achieve the same look and feel. And they wanted to finish the original 5-year mission, which they do in the last 2 episodes of the show. Use of copyrighted and trademark properties from the original series was allowed so long as the production was not commercial. A portion of the funds raised by thousands of backers through successful Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns. So they won tons of awards, Webby Awards and things like that. And it is correct that Grant Imahara played Sulu, no longer with us, sadly. But here's all of the alumni and returning actors. I'm just going to give you the ones that you'll know, okay? Because there are some that are not as well known. But John Delancey, the great John Delancey, who I think I've told my John Delancey story a million times on this show. That still creeps me out. But anyway, he played Q on Next Generation and a whole bunch of other Star Trek shows. He played the immortal Q, and he played one of like the leaders of one of these civilizations in Star Trek Continues. Michael Dorn, you know him better as Worf, was the Enterprise computer voice in one of the episodes. And let's see here. Michael Forrest. Now, you might not know that name, but he played Apollo in the original series episode, Who Mourns for Adonis, aired 47 years earlier, and he reprises his role as Adonis.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
Delancey is in the new Star Trek with Picard in it.
Called Picard?
Yeah, where he's at 100 years old.
Okay. Well, anything with Picard's going to have Q in it. But Marina Sirtis, who's Counselor Troy, and by the way, well, I'll get to that in a second. She's the computer voice for a bunch of the episodes. The people that get together for the cons, you know, the most fun group is the Next Generation group. When they get together, because they apparently were playing practical jokes and having a hell of a time the whole time they were making the Next Generation. And a few episodes in, Patrick Stewart, who plays Picard, got them together and just gave them a tongue lashing because there was a director that said, I can't work with these people. They're just not focus. They won't do it. And he gave them this lecture, which was, this, in all my years on stage, is the most disgraceful moment, and you're absolutely, unconscionably out of control. This is unforgivable, blah, blah, blah. And apparently the woman who played Tasha Yar just goes, Denise Crosby goes, we're just trying to have fun. And he went, fun? Who said it was supposed to be fun? And they all explained to him, look, we have so much downtime here. These days are 18-hour days. They're grueling. We're just trying to blow off some steam, blah, blah, blah. And apparently at that point, Patrick Stewart kind of resigned himself to this is what the rest of the cast is doing. And he became the worst of them all.
He was a prankster, yeah.
He was 20,000 times. They all talk about it and they say, hey, we had no idea what we were unleashing. We had no idea. Actually, remember Erin Gray from Buck Rogers? She's actually on Star Trek Continues.
Yeah, and the guy that I keep mixing he and that kid's name up.
Wesley
played Will. That played Will Riker. He's on there with her.
Oh yes, yes. Well, so if you get a chance, and there's a lot of them on YouTube, and really there's one called, what is it, Five Captains or something, and it's got Shatner, it's got Patrick Stewart, it's got Scott Bakula, it's got the guy that played Benjamin Sisko, and it's got Janeway. And they all talk about being the captain. But there's a ton of them that have all the characters by series. There's one of them, I think it's in South Dakota, and it's just Data and Riker. And I'm telling you what, it's a blast. Because they both keep going into the crowd and pretending to be fans and asking them questions about things that happened so that the other guy will tell a certain story. I heard one time you were required to be on your knees for a couple of hours by the director. I think Riker might have directed that one. And they just go back and forth. Please watch all the convention stuff. I don't know what the Star Wars people are like. I get the feeling they're a little bit too good for that. They're film stars, you know. Jean says she watched Ice Pirates this weekend. Yes, I got to recommend that to my mom. She's a big Robert Urich fan. Michael Gardner says, yes, it was totally irresponsible of John Delancey to go anonymous. Well, no, John Delancey, I'll just tell the story. There's used to be, I'm assuming it's still there, an art gallery, sort of an avant-garde underground art gallery called the Art Gallery of the Five Jesuses or something like that in L.A., and they were showing a bunch of work by an illustrator who did a lot of work for Cracked magazine back in the day called Bill Ward. So I went there with a bunch of the Film Threat guys and with Greg Theakston, a legendary comic book artist. And we're walking around this thing and looking at all this Bill Ward artwork. And in walks John Delancey with Barbara Steele, Steele, who is famous for a movie called Black Sunday, but she was in a ton of other stuff, okay? And Black Sunday, I think, is kind of it's a vampire movie.
Yeah, she's in about 3 or 4 of those vampire movies.
Yeah, she was very pervy back in the day. And so they're together, and they're both these big, kind of cult icons, right? And so they're together, and they're walking around this art gallery, which is on the second floor of a city building, and it's got all these little rooms. It's got a big open area, but then you went back into these little rooms, okay? And I'm with Greg Theakston, the legendary Greg Theakston. He's on a ton of my podcasts. He's no longer with us. What a great guy. Anyway, and we're with another guy named Glenn Barr, who is a renowned artist and former background animator for Ren and Stimpy and Baby Huey. And so I'm with these two guys. And of course, I'm just a writer guy for Film Threat and other things. And we're like, the John Delancey. That's Barbara Steele. Oh my God, I can't believe. Should we say something to him? I'm the one that's like, going, no, they don't want to be bothered. They just don't. We're never going to get a chance to meet Barbara Steele. Come on, we just go up and say, really appreciate your work, and we just keep walking. And I don't know. I just think that they're here. Nobody else is doing it. Everybody else is being real cool. It's Los Angeles. It's this hip avant-garde thing. Maybe you had to get an invite to get there, or maybe not a lot of people knew about it, but it was just this hip crowd. And this was in like 1990 or 91. And so finally we make the decision, because they go back into this little room. And it's like, look, that room doesn't have hardly anybody in there, and we could probably get away with it and not look like total jerks. And we don't look like a jerk. And so we decide to do it. And they're back in there. We watched them walk in there, and our eyes were fixed on them. They didn't go anywhere else. And so the rooms were these like door openings, maybe a little bigger than a normal door, but not that much bigger. And we went into this room, and it was empty. And there was absolutely no escape. It was not a fire escape. There was not we were on the second floor, way up in the air. It wasn't like a typical second floor. It was like a warehouse underneath it or whatever. It was way up in the air. There was nowhere they could have gone. And there were three of us. It wasn't like, and nobody, I think maybe they had some wine there or something. I, of course, was not drinking because, well, Wolf,
Oh, well, of course not.
After college, I just...
You'll never catch me with a glass of liquor.
Yeah, after college. In college, of course, it was a little different. But... So yeah, and I've just absolutely, to this day, or for a long time, when I talk to these guys, I always go, man, can you believe? I mean, come on, I still this day don't believe it. Just
this
amazing.
Place sounds like it was in Venice or Santa Monica or someplace.
Well, let me see here.
That's usually where you find all the perv museums.
Let's see. Let's see here. I don't think it was.
Fox and Binder.
This says Luis de Jesus, Los Angeles. I thought it was the 5 Jesuses, but it's on 1110 Mateo, and that's. I think it's in downtown or somewhere. I don't know where it is.
Yeah, it's it sounds like a street I had a job on, so that's like starting to head east, I think, somewhere near Sunset.
I don't know. Luis. This looks like it, though. I'm looking at the pictures of it. Well, that's a first floor place. But it looks like it. They could have moved it. I mean, after all, it's been 35 years, but it looks like the exact same place. I don't know how long it's been there.
Probably it's still there.
They got a website. Let me see if the website tells how long it's been.
They started trying to clean up Santa Monica Boulevard. They got rid of the Fox Inn, which is the guy you said you see one guy chug it, you've seen them all, but you ain't seen the Fox. Dope and I and Big John used to go to that place, and he just played the dirtiest songs, and it would be USC against UCLA, and it was hilarious.
Let me see if I can find that.
It's probably still there. Most of those places that you saw in the 60s and the early 70s are still there with the same owner.
Are you talking about in the days of the Greeks and the Romans?
In the days.
Let me see here if they've got a Wikipedia page. Okay, let's see. Well, it says it was established in 1986. Located at original gallery was in a bright pink building on Melrose Avenue. That sounds like
Melrose.
it.
Melrose, yeah.
Upstairs from a retail store. That sounds like it, man. That sounds like it. I'm telling you. La Luz de Jesus. Maybe I just got the name wrong or something, but the memory does that to you a little bit.
Well, Jesus is Jesus.
But anyway, well, yeah, I know. I remembered the Jesus part. But I'm telling you, it's creeped me out ever since. Is the magic of John Delancey and Barbara Steele, given her satanic movie background. I'm just going to put 7 of 9 up there for you, Wolf.
When you said that guy's name, I was thinking, gee, Daddy, I caught a fat flounder.
Well, anyway, Star Trek Continues had all these past, other guest actors and support. Let's see, second episode, Lou Ferrigno appears in the second episode. Aaron Gray from Buck Rogers. Let's see.
Ferrigno with his dinosaur head.
Yes.
Oh.
He's a LinkedIn friend of mine. I did some project with him. He's
Ferrigno?
Yeah. Guest stars Colin Baker, one of the episodes from Doctor Who. Adrian Wilkinson from Xena Warrior Princess. How about that? Chris Gore is in one of them. Chris Gore is the guy that we were with to go to the whole thing, the editor. He's in a cameo. He's in a cameo of a lot of stuff, though. Rod Roddenberry's in one of the episodes. Claire Kramer from Buffy the Vampire Slayer is in an episode. Anyway. Yeah. Just a lot of them. Let me see. A facility of 9,600 square feet was acquired in Kingsland, Georgia to host the set, which were built from the original soundstage blueprints. They recreated the style of the original series in sets, cinematography, costumes, acting, and storytelling style. They duplicated the 4-act structure in the series because of the need for commercial breaks. They primarily used the original series incidental music as well as the original theme song and credit typography. So they also shot it in 4:3 aspect ratio to duplicate the original series TV format. So
I'm surprised they didn't shoot that in Canada. Toronto or Quebec.
According to the ending credits of Fairest of Them All, a scene on the episode was shot on location at NASA's Space Center, Houston, where the original Galileo shuttlecraft was. And early 2015, they announced the acquisition of the remainder of the Kingslands facility, 18,000 square feet, under the exclusive ownership of Trek Continues Incorporated. It was rebranded Stage 9 as an homage to the original series soundstage at Desilu. So they had a couple of fundraising rounds. They raised $128,000 for the first time. Then they raised $214,000 for the second one, exceeding their goal of $100,000. And the last one raised $199,000. And then shortly thereafter, they announced that additional private donations to the company exceeded its fundraising goal of $350,000. So privately, people did. And so, yes, they won a ton of awards. Telly Awards, Burbank Film Festival, 71st Science Fiction World Convention, just tons and tons and tons.
Well, that's probably why they could get the funds, because those people pretty much figure it's going to be a success if it's well done and it's Star Trek.
Well, and it's it's crowdfunding. It's crowdfunding, so people get their names on it, you know. But I should do a whole show about it. It's so good. It just is. It is absolutely.
I guess they couldn't be the crowd favorite then.
Well, no, they are the crowd favorite. I noticed that many of the cast members were very quick-footed and athletic.
Well, yeah, but if they were the crowd favorites, they would be hated by all.
And I will also say, anybody that's a Star Wars fan, we can do another show at some point in time And I will have you on as a guest, and you can come on here and advocate for Star Wars. You go right ahead.
Oh, all you got to do is think about Ewoks and
Yeah, Ewoks alone. Come on,
and
it's just not.
and that Gunga stuff, and you can't defend that.
Well, Jar Jar, Jar Jar Binks, the most annoying.
Those are the only characters that I won't, because you have to you get these characters and you kind of have to build them up and make them stronger. I refuse to activate any of those horrific Gungas or the Ewoks.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Well, anyway, I just want to point out Star Trek is better than Star Wars. It just is. That's all I can say.
I can't disagree with that.
Metal Maiden Vicky says Jar Jar Binks was super duper annoying. Yes. It is.
Way to lead up to it like you're going to say something positive.
Yeah.
and then give him the axe.
Well, and then there's the whole thing about Greedo and Solo at the beginning of one of the movies, and they changed it to where
the guillotine.
let me see.
Off with his head.
There's a scene. It's a debate, controversial editing of a scene in the very first movie where he confronts bounty hunter Greedo. In the original film, Hans shoots Greedo first, but in later versions, including special editions, they show Greedo shooting first, and it's because he made the change to make Han Solo appear more honorable. He didn't want him to be a cold-blooded killer. And it's like, it's too late. And so what if he's a cold-blooded killer?
He's a pirate. Give me a break.
Of a cold-blooded killer. It's not like Greedo was this, altruistic, innocent victim. So anyway, long-standing fan discussion. But that just is sort of the sellout of Star Wars. Everything is for commercial reasons. It's the plot, and that's not necessarily bad, but it's just, let's not pretend that these movies are giant commercials to sell toys and lunchboxes and stuff. That's what they are. Don't make them out to be anything else. So anyway, that's all I got tonight. What do you got? Anything going on? Anything interesting before we get out of here?
Well, I've been putting off Columbo.
Kabumble?
Lieutenant Kabumble.
Yes. Well, you can't. Rumpled trench coat. You got to pair those up.
I'm way ahead.
Oh, okay.
I'm in season 4. Episode 6.
I see. When you say you've been putting off, you're just at a stopping point.
I made a comment about because Kodal and his sister always bring up Dick Van Dyke is the worst villain. I said, "Are you crazy? It's got to be Johnny Cash."
Well,
that guy was a convicted felon.
Yep.
He's a ped. On top of that, and he's a murderer.
Well, yeah.
How much worse could you get as a bad guy?
Well, you should go on their show and have a debate about that. What is?
I left the comment the next time that they talked about Dick Van Dyke being the worst enemy, and he never answered me.
Do you have Do you have a thought about which is the best Star Trek TV series?
Well, obviously the original.
Well,
even with having personal contact with the next generation. Remember I told you about the Indian guy that we did a house for, and
Yeah.
it was just the biggest nightmare construction ever created.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of people that like the next gen better than the original.
Yeah, I'm not one of those. I mean, if you, as a rackologist, okay, that part, yeah, but
Well, they had guest stars, but the other thing about it is there. It just depends. Because I think the original series probably had the best scripts of all of the series. You know, they had like legendary science fiction writers. You know, writing
yeah,
their
I
scripts.
don't see it being better. And Scott Bakula as the captain, I just kept seeing Quantum Leap.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing though. The next
Of course, now there was that
to
flower of the South to Paul.
well, the thing about the next gen though is, and this is it has a lot of stuff going for it. Number one, when Picard first when that show first started, you know, I was a big fan of the original, so of course I was going to watch that. And I saw him as Picard, and I went, man, compared to Captain Kirk, that guy is a
stick of mud.
yeah, he's no. But as the series went on, I went, hey, you know what? There's something to this guy. He's way more of a diplomat than Kirk was. But when it comes time to throw down, he's kind of a badass. You know,
That movie where he's the hitman that's trying to retire is pretty good. It's really good.
well, there's a episode where he goes down on the Klingon, and the Klingons are like, oh, puny human, and he's just like, you want to test that out right now because we can go.
He
And
has
then-
the power of the glistening cue ball.
And then they attack him, and he kills like 4 or 5 Klingons like that. Because Picard, they bring out when he was younger, was really a risk taker and a you know, like a badass. The other thing about
Well,
it,
you know, he's very athletic and has explosive skills.
yes, he's a real stick of dynamite. And then I also liked it that Riker was there, because Riker was kind of Picard's going to stay back on the ship for most of that stuff. Riker, you go out and fight the Thelosians or whatever. The other thing about Next Gen is it went on for a long time, so they got to develop those characters. Data, an amazing character, absolutely amazing character. And the thing about Next Gen is it saved that franchise. It really like single-handedly brought people back to Star Trek and brought a whole new audience.
Yeah.
A whole new audience, you know. And then there's a case to be made for Voyager. Voyager, just the idea of it, you've got a starship, and it is bajillions of light years away from the rest of Starfleet, and it's trying to find its way back home. And it faces the Borg by itself. They have to like forage for all their supplies. There's no space station for them to go to. There's no friendly planet for them to go to. It's a really, really good series. And Janeway as a female captain, pretty damn good job. All of the series have their own merits. So it's hard for me to pick a favorite between a few of them. Voyager might be my favorite. I mean, that being said, it's because I've worn out the original series. You know, it's almost like I don't give it credit because I've seen it so many times. But the Enterprise, a lot of people don't like Enterprise, and I like it because it's before all the advancements. It's before the transporters worked, and
I just didn't like him in that part. That's my issue with it. The rest of it was fine. I just, you know, Quantum Leap. I just like, I couldn't buy it.
You expected you expected his communicator to be Ziggy,
Yeah, expected him to move through time or something.
Dean Stockwell, the hologram onto the whole thing. Anyway, all right. Well, I guess enough of that. You don't have a favorite Star Wars movie, do you? My favorite's the first one.
I like the last one. Well,
You
the
mean
third one.
of the three? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like
'Cause
the
who
third
are
one.
the rest of them are just a mess of who's this? You
Yeah,
know, and
I
all
like the third
the
one.
names are so stupid. They're just I don't know. There's never a guy named Joe. You know, it's yeah. It's always Anakin this and Lando and Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right,
Well,
man.
that's the way it is.
Well, I'm gonna close her down.
I'm gonna shut her down, boys.
And then I'm going to, in a fond farewell to our good friends at Skype that were such a great partner for so many years, allowing me to pay for phone service that was hardly ever used. Oh, Crappy at Life says Enterprise rules. I like Captain Eyebrows. I like a lot of things about Enterprise, man. I do. I really do. Bacula doesn't bother me as that just because Miles Archer. He was up against a lot of stuff, that Captain Miles Archer. He had the Vulcans that really didn't want Earth to have spaceships at the time. You know, they were against it. So
Yeah, they had some issues with the Vulcans initially.
yeah, it was like, are they friends or foes or what's going on here? But any old way. All right, man. Oh, Crappy at Life says DS9 is my favorite. I liked so many things about DS9. DS9 probably had more story arcs than any of the series, but DS9 had some real dead spots in it that I just didn't care. It's like, okay, Chief O'Brien is having a problem with his wife again. Oh, God.
I kept trying to decide whether the redhead was worth watching or not.
The redhead. Kira Nerys.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bajoran. Well, let's bring up Kira Nor, which is, it's pronounced Norris, but it's spelled Norris.
It got pretty nasty there towards the end where they were the what's his name and the two races that were always fighting.
Well, the Dominion and the Cardassians or whatever. I don't know. It just it was. I think it's a good series. I'm trying to find a good picture of Kira Norris, played by Nana Nana. I don't know, Visitor. Well, it's not going to let me do that one, but it should.
Of course not.
I guess I should, because there's pictures of her you'd really like too. If you know what I'm saying. I think you know what I'm saying.
I'm a rackologist, so yes, I'm versed in all the flavors of the South.
Oh wow, there's a good one there. I passed over. Let me hold on. So yeah, there's some good pictures of Kira Norris, and she was a good character. Her love affair with the shape-shifting Odo. You know,
Yeah, I kind of
thing going on with Odo.
could have done without him.
Oh, he's a great actor too, by the way. I like him because he knew everything that was going on
He made a good threat every once in a while.
yeah, he was really good about, I suppose the freighter that just left with all that ore was just, and Quark would be, Captain Schemer would just be going, how did you know about that? And I loved Quark. He was just the best schemer of all time. I mean, it was. Oh wait, let me see here. Captain
the Strother Martin of space.
Yes, Captain Sisko stole my bike, says Crappy Life. Ducat did nothing wrong. Oh, God. He did a lot of things wrong. He tried to throw Cisco into a pit of fire in the last episode. The emissary. Please.
Yeah.
Good deal that you can pin the live call-in stream to the top of the chat. Yes, it is. Now people can ignore that rather than ignoring the phone number. Anyway, super. You get 0 membership, 0 super chat. And, well, at least I got a call. That's great. All right. Well, hey, man, have a good one. And tomorrow night is Sam Kinison, ladies and gentlemen. And then Wednesday night, technically tomorrow night is our 500th show. But Wednesday night, we are going to celebrate 500 shows, just in case I'm struck by a comet or the internet, fails. And we can celebrate 500 shows on Wednesday. So 500.
That means I better get out my liquor.
Yeah, 500 shows, and still nobody cares. Metal Main Vicky says, but do people have a microphone in order to call into the show? If you have a computer or a phone, you've got a microphone. I mean, that's like saying that people have a telephone to call into the show.
I'm on my phone right now, Metal.
Yeah, 500, nice. Yeah.
Although my computer finally loaded everything up and is ready to go online and I'm ready to come into the room, but I'm already, like a half an hour later.
This is great. Gene 1313 says, do you really want us to bum rush the show? Oh, that's hilarious. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
I guess I'll go make some more fudge.
Just how do you mean that?
Not like Dove did on my resume.
All right.
Going out to thousands of top companies in the country.
Yeah, Metal Maid V says, Tom, I can sympathize with you on that one. I'm 10 years this month with Sonic Asylum Radio, and hardly anybody knows me or my show. Well, my podcast was actually super popular at one time. I'm not, but it was. Metal Maid V says, Gene, I haven't heard that phrase in a long time. I do like bum rush. Anyway, man, talk to you later.
All right, have a good one.
You too. That's the Wolf taking advantage of our new and exciting just beam into the show thing. Yeah, bum rush is great. That's funny. I love that. Anyway, there's Tom Tiberius Kirk there. I could show you the original Jim Kirk that's taken from, but I am so tempted to re-edit my opening theme and put that picture into it. I'll do that in a few months, maybe. I don't know. I love the show, Vic. It's great. Metal Maid and Vicky's show is great. We had a good time in there Saturday. Unfortunately, I fall asleep. I sleep a lot on Saturdays, and time I wake up, it's like she's an hour ahead of where I'm at, and she was I think she went an hour over. So we were having a nice time. She played some Elvis Costello for me, so which really she's playing it for other people because I don't know. But it's always great to hear him again. Anyway, I'm looking at that old clock on the wall. SG going down in history. Yet a living legend, if ever there was one. If ever there was one, it would be SG Fanboy. By the way, I hope you notice I've got the bridge, the back wall of the bridge on the Next Generation Enterprise behind me this evening. Anyway, that old clock on the wall says, well, like the Reverend Al Green, it's time for me to get on up out of here. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And with all that being said, let me make sure I've reset mine. No, I haven't. And with all that being said, let's see. Crappy Life says your show's criminally underrated, man. Well, yeah, everybody save it. By the way, thank you for the Captain Kirk avatar there, Crappy Life. Melamine Vicky says, it was fun. Well, I started at 4 p.m. instead of 3 p.m. due to long window updates, so I thought we were having fun. I went to full of 5 anyway. Well, that's the spirit of a trooper. Thank you, Gene1313. Yes, thank you, Gene. And thank you for always being here, Gene. Well, I was glad to have you. So with all that being said, I think the only thing to say is, till next time, live long and prosper.
1, 2, 3, 4. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gully, yes I am. So what we talking about?